Welcome. It's your girl. It's been some time since I've made a video. I've been busy, I've been going through a lot, and for good reason. I am back and I'm here to talk about a little bit of Neverness to Everness. It's what I've been playing most recently, and it's not perfect, but it's been a breath of fresh air for me. Don't get me wrong, just pulling on male banners across all these games has been fun and it is definitely a choice. I don't hold myself to a weird stipulation that I can't have girlies on the account, but it does come with a weird disconnect from the normal target audience that you see commenting on Reddit, Twitter, all across social media. And if you like male characters, most people just say to play on an otome game, which is not for me. I am looking for actual combat in my games. I'm looking for something more to collect than some cards and 30 minutes of parasocial behavior. I cannot be the typical girly that plays Love and Deep Space for fun. I think it's too much, but that's not what this video is about. If I am going to pull on a female banner, I tend to gravitate more towards reserved, cool female types such as Zani, Galbrina, Fei Xiao, and in Neverness to Everness now, Daffodil. She's pretty cool, one of my favorites as well. But more often than not, I tend to skip these characters because the resources you get in a gacha are finite. And if I have a finite resource, I'm going to put it towards something I really want, such as a male banner, the weapon, the whole shebang. Okay, I am not gonna let the boy be without the weapon. But before I get into why NTE has really changed my perspective about male focused banner pulling in general, I wanted to talk about why I was initially losing faith in the anime free to play titles of today. Because we both know I don't need the gotcha part, which is why I want to start by talking about Duet Night Abyss. I was actually playing daily and I loved that game, except when the hacking situation happened, I did not log in after that, and unfortunately, I don't feel secure about the game. I don't know if it will hack me again. I wouldn't say I'm scared to re-download, but I'm still cautious about just putting it on there. I want to see them have a good track record before I return, if I return. But the nice thing about that game is that there's not really too much FOMO, and you can kind of return when you want. So basically, the hacking situation killed the momentum that I had going for that game. I will still watch it from a distance, and I genuinely hope for its success. But for right now, I am not a player, unfortunately, even though I love it. As for my Honkai Star Rail account, it became exhausting from a story perspective. The Saidra and Hycelin's quest made me quit, actually. I got to a point where I would not even understand the story, watch a story recap, and still feel like I wasted my time. And I just thought to myself, why am I doing this? Why am I playing a story I don't enjoy and farming for characters that are going to be power crept in the next patch? And I genuinely like the gender ratio that they have in Honkai Star Rail, which is why I am making a return here. I recently played some yesterday, and God, that dialogue's awful. But I want a free Gilgamesh, so that's why I'm here. I don't know if I'm gonna stay for the long term, but I do enjoy the turn-based game they got going on, and the story could use some work. But maybe they're gonna wow my socks off in 4.0 because that's where I have stopped in progression as of right now. But I'm going to be grinding it until the new NTE patch comes out. As for my CZZ account, well, they managed to completely lose me as a current and future player. The 2.0 update completely lost me. It felt like it was a slap in the face to everyone who pulled Hugo the patch before. And while everyone was already saving for what's her name that had very little personality, and I don't even want to remember her name because that's how much I'm salty against her. But regardless, the miasma mechanic and just completely ruined Hugo's kit. Like, his whole thing is about doing most damage when the bar is broken. And then when the bar is about to break, you get like this mechanic that you can't break the bar until you do some certain damage or whatever. And I'm sure you can get around it. And I'm sure getting around it requires having a certain character. That's why I also hate it. That's why I also hate CCC with a passion. Now that you need this certain character to get through this mechanic quicker, it feels like, what's the point of using Hugo? Unless you're fighting older bosses, I guess. But still, it felt so scummy that they finally introduced a male character and they decided to bury him in the ground the very next patch, which is the constant Hoyo thing to do, but still, I thought I'd at least have him for another patch. Another thing about that update is just gameplay wise, it was everything I did not want. The story had this weird, like, build up the city event within it. Like, why couldn't it just be a permanent event not tied to the story? Like, I did not give a flying hoot about rebuilding this temple while I'm trying to kill whatever needs to be killed, you know? Like, beat the boss of the story. But yeah, they just made so many design changes in the 2.0 that I was like, yeah, I'm done. Like, I already don't like the, what is it, Hollow Zero, the gameplay mode you gotta play weekly. Like, I was already getting burnt out from that. And then they introduced exploration into a game that was supposed to be like instance. And I did not like the way they implemented it. And I saw myself out. I will not be returning to ZZZ ever. And I think they need to do some serious reflecting going into 3.0. Another game I was playing in earnest was Wuthering Waves. Now, for Wuthering Waves, I have a complicated relationship with because I genuinely enjoy the world, the combat, the characters, the cinematic way they tell stories. But overall, throughout the course of 3.0, they've had a lot of misses for me personally. 3.2 was when I really had to sit back and think about, do I really want to keep playing this game? I know, right before the anniversary. I mean, I already wasn't psyched for Hiyuki or Dina, I think that's her name. So I didn't care too much about the anniversary characters. So I still haven't played 3.3, so don't shoot the messenger. I don't know if I like it or not yet. But I am wary of the 3.3 story given how much the community has glazed it. And typically when they glaze it, it's either good or it's not good. You know, this is 50-50. It's a 50-50. And when they glazed the heck out of Amos 3.1 story, I sat there, gave it a good shot. I did not feel the connection. I did not vibe with the story like everybody else did. I actually didn't care for that first half of 3.1. Now, Luke's story, that has some serious lore implications for the future and world building, but he only got an hour of screen time so that Amos can sell more, which made me a little upset. Amos did not need all that, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. But she is a decent character. They definitely were redeeming themselves in that 3.1 story because the 3.0 stories were actually kind of whatever. You can see what was going to happen from a mile away. The same thing here. I think that's also why I don't like the Sigika story, is because you can kind of see what's about to happen. Like, there's no surprise when, oh wow, Dina ended up being the conspirator behind it, right? Regardless, I don't want to harp on the story of Wuthering Waves too much, but The reason I started to feel a type of way about this game was since the finale patch of 2.7, actually, when Rover was surrounded by all her companions, and I realized all her companions were people I didn't care about as a viewer. And I only really resonated with the Silent Zani, Brant, and Shu Yen, and only two of those were representing the male side of the cast, you know? And I just kind of felt out of place. I am aware of the memes. I'm aware that Wuthering Waves fan name or joke running in the community is calling it Gathering Wives instead of Wuthering Waves. Okay, I'm aware. It's just getting to that kind of point, realizing I don't want to play a wife collector. Okay, all these girls are starting to feel the same. But regardless, I know I'd be quitting right before the Cyberpunk collab. And hot take, real hot take, I'm not too much of a fan of the anime. So when I saw it announced, I was like, okay, cool, whatever. You know, great. You know, love collabs. I love to see that kind of crossover in the space. But it's gonna be a great enjoyment for those who are looking forward to it. Looks like it'll be very high quality. Next game I want to talk about is Endfield, which has come out recently. I really wanted to like Endfield so badly because looking at Arknights roster, I can see that they have a lot of male characters, and overall the designs are pretty cool. I never really got into the original Arknights, but I enjoy open world games, so maybe, you know, I'd be on board. But unfortunately, I didn't even make it through the launch story quest for Enfield. I know Wuthering Waves has its main character glaze, but I feel like Enfield just turns that glaze up to 100 because everything's Edmund. Oh, Edmund, you're so great. Edmund, oh my god, you're magnificent. And Edmund is untouchable, which is very exhausting for me. I understand they want to make the MC feel powerful, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of how they're doing it currently. Maybe that new male character is going to bring me back. I do have all my pulls saved because I haven't even touched the banners. So that's another thing. I don't like the banner system of Enfield because, as I've talked about earlier, when I pull on a banner, I pull because I'm guaranteed to get that person. And if you're losing your 50-50 to another on banner character that I really don't care about, I am not gonna have a great time, okay? Because I have 120 pulls saved up, you know, just in case, right? Because I'm gonna guarantee the character I want. I don't want whatever Susie in my account because I'm not pulling for her, I'm pulling for the male character, okay? So that's going to be a point of tension when I eventually do pull on Enfield's banner. We'll see how that goes. Lastly, I've also taken a try at MONGIL Stardive, and that story was actually interesting. But the grind at that game is more than you would think, and it killed my motivation to keep playing. Plus, it was just a trial game for me. I wasn't planning on sticking with it too much. The way you have to grind gear in that game is limited by daily boss attempts, which is like kill the boss on the map and hope that the item drops you need to craft that weapon. But some days you don't get that item. And not only do you have to hold on to hope that you get the weapon or the material drop, sorry, you need to then use that same rare material to craft the gear with random stats. And if you get bad random stats, you gotta basically try all over again and wait for this boss to drop the amount of materials you need. And it's a large process. So I think they really overtuned the grind in that game, and it definitely felt like a work to keep that up because that was not for me. Going through all of these gachas, it's definitely easy to see how one can feel the burnout and my personal thoughts on why I felt burnt out about gachas currently. Now that all that negativity is out of the way, I'm going to talk about why NTE has changed my perspective. But there are still things to be critical about with NTE. I went in expecting to dislike it because I am unfortunately a player of Tower of Fantasy back in the day, and I definitely felt the power creep in that game. It was a very shallow open world experience. But instead, I've been playing NTE daily and I'm actively looking to 1.1 and all the future content that was revealed in the live stream. I'm so excited. Chaos's outfit reveal was so hype, bro. I was genuinely kind of discouraged from none of the male characters getting any bond time or clothes, but now that I see the devs are actually going to move in that direction, and I felt confident about making this video, and it inspired me to talk about it. So I'm hoping the devs continue to listen like this. I am used to getting scraps for the male characters in games. Like, it is no surprise that there's only one per half patch in Wuthering Waves. And seeing the devs move within a patch so quickly to add chaos and home features, I'm hoping they do more in the future, like adding Baikang, Skia, Edgar as well, now that we know it's possible. At first, we were wondering, are they gonna add any male characters? Are they gonna give it the Tower of Fantasy treatment where they only do one per like year? But I understand why people are upset as well from the 1.1 reveal of the male character, seeing as how much Lacrimosa got in comparison to Chaos. And unfortunately, the reality is male characters make less money. Every time people try proving there's a demand for male characters, they often underperform financially. And I am kind of tired of seeing, if only the dude had a great story. If only the dude was given more love, like in terms of appearances and cosmetics. But they're not gonna know they have a audience for male characters until, the numbers turn around. There's some good quality male characters out there, such as Brant and Gion and Blade and people like that, But if they are consistently underperforming, the writing's on the wall. Finon is basically the only exception within the open world gacha space that I can think of off the top of my head that did extremely well on a banner because the story was heavily invested to him and he was in other games before he came to Honkai Star Rail, which is great. I love that. I want to see more of that. And in terms of Love and Deep Space making money, their monetization is completely different. And it is only catered towards women. Also, it leans more into the parasocial romance aspects instead of combat focused gameplay, which is leaning into a more broader audience, which is why I think there's still not a lot of male characters in games because even female characters are pulled on by women. Like, they're not all bad. We're not picky. This is why I'm hoping Chaos's banner does well. The male banner pullers put their money where their mouth is and give the devs more confidence to make more characters like this. And in the future, we can ask for better costume, story focus, and features for male characters as long as this goes well. Not saying you have to pull out your wallet for this game, but definitely keep continuing to voice your opinions. But the budget speaks. As long as there's a need and there's money to be made, they're going to make more male characters. So let's hope he does well. I'm genuinely hoping for Chaos's success. Another thing about NTE that has changed the way I go into other gacha games is the open world aspect. At first, in Wuthering Waves, Endfield, I was used to the open world setting, how it kind of felt a little empty, and once you get there, you never return. But In NTE, you're constantly driving around the same city, you're doing city deliveries, I find myself walking places or driving places rather than taking the teleports just to have the more scenic experience. Another thing NTE does well is the random anomaly encounters. Like I think all of us can remember driving through the left or right tunnels and seeing the whale kind of cutscene or the ghost rider cutscene. That was a very unique experience. That's the first time that's happened in a gacha game. And there are little Easter egg quests as well all over the map that are not marked. You can go around and do those. The way they did exploration here does not feel disposable, and it feels like a genuine part of the enjoyment city feel that they were going for. Granted, some of the anomaly encounters were genuinely scary. Of course, maybe I shouldn't say that because I scare very easily and I jump from loud noises and everything in between. But even though they exist, I was still able to have fun in this game. And if you're not as squeamish as me, I'm sure you can get through it with the sound off. As for me, even with the sound off, video playing, somebody next to me, in a call, I I failed. Okay, I am bad with horror. As for Traversal, driving around has been a great experience. I thought I'd miss flying after experiencing the wuwa 3.0 situation where I don't like the bike and driving around did not feel great. However, in NTE, they definitely zeroed in on that driving experience where I don't even miss flying. Granted, flying would be nice if we were able to buy a private jet. NTE devs, I will not shame you for adding private jets to the game. I want to drive a private jet. Thank you. It's the only time I'll ever be able to do that and own a Porsche at the same time. Regardless, the shops are interactable. The world hides little Easter eggs everywhere, it feels like. The story quest as well. It was great. I have no issues with the story quest. I understand there are a lot of Tagito haters, okay? But I am not one of them. I'm glad you can mute him for those that don't like him. But Tagito was great. I honestly thought it was cute, funny, the way he talked. Because coming from Honkai Star Whale, where Mem just went me for like 30 minutes straight, I was like, I love Tagito. Tagito is the best thing ever. Anyways, the side stories as well are fully voiced, have full cutscenes, and by Kang's personal story made me appreciate him way more than I thought I would. At first, I was just pulling him because, hey, he's the male character, and I am gonna have every male on my account, period. But I wasn't obsessed with his personality or anything. In the story, that changes everything. Gamers, the story changed everything. Bai King actually has some depth. He's such a goofy, silly guy, and he knows when to be serious. And I think it sold it for me. He needs to be in my house. Please make it possible, devs. Thank you. Overall, NTE massively surpassed my expectations. Maybe they were too low to begin with, but especially seeing that early gender ratio, and I was like, maybe this game isn't for me. It's already a Tower of Fantasy dev situation. I don't want another wife collector, especially if they're going to be in my house. Like, growing up, I lived with 4 women plus, well, 5 women if you're counting me in the same house, and I do not want to go through that again in a video game. Please give me the dudes. I am done being nagged, but I am happy to see that they are moving in the right direction, and I think we gotta give them some time to cook. So I feel like NTE can really become a healthy middle ground for strong gameplay, having a living world, a somewhat mixed cast, and the MCE isn't the pinnacle of all people in the world. I hope devs continue to listen to feedback. I'm looking forward to 1.1. We'll see if I continue making videos, because it takes some time for these to do all the editing and stuff by myself. But I like doing it, so if I have time and I feel inspired, they will happen. I don't think I'll be getting burnt out on this game anytime soon. Thanks for listening to me out. I hope to see you in my next video.